Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 7 of Lucha Rewatch. We just got done watching episodes 25 through 28 of Lucha Underground Season 1. The biggest news before we even talk about these shows, though, Lucha Underground Season 2 is a go.
That's right. So to all the people that I read like writing columns, oh, I don't know if it's going to happen. Oh, their viewership is this and that. Yeah, suck it. Season 2 confirmed, people. Yes.
How long have we been saying, John? It's not a matter of if Season 2 happens. It's a matter of when Season 2 happens.
Yes, my friend. Yes. You,
and
me.
All the signs are pointing to January.
Yes. Yes. Guys, they pulled it off. We got a Season 2. So this content's going to continue, and I can't wait to do actual Lucha Underground reviews of Season 2 come January. That is going to be absolutely incredible. So elated with this news.
And from what I understand, not only is it coming back, but it's also going to be distributed internationally.
Oh my god, that is what they needed.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, once that happens, it will become the latest craze, if it isn't already. But I mean, when it gets that kind of distribution, people will really see, wow, this really is an alternative to what we're used to. So happy for those guys.
Definitely, yeah. It's awesome. We aren't sure, I will say this though, we aren't sure why or what allowed them to confirm that Season 2 is happening, but, you know, I'm sure we'll get more details as time goes on. For now, I'm just ecstatic that we actually have a Season 2 confirmed.
Oh, you and me both. I think the biggest curiosity I'm looking forward to have satiated was it the Netflix deal? Was it something else entirely? Because I want to know how to approach this going forward. But just knowing that we're getting more Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix and Mil Muertes and Johnny Mundo and Angelico, just absolutely incredible. Made my day to
Son of Havoc.
Son of Havoc. I mean, everybody.
And hopefully Evilise comes back so we can get a healthy version of her for a whole season.
Oh, I know, right? That would be magnificent. But
yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're talking one of the best shows going.
I mean, really, mostly just Johnny Mundo and Pentagon, right?
Yeah, Johnny Mundo and Pentagon. I love that entire locker room, though. And see, that's why when we did our topical video yesterday, which, by the way, to everybody so far that has commented, liked, and everything, thank you so much. The feedback's been incredible. But that's why I said
it really is nuts, dude. We're up to 194 views on that, which isn't, incredible by any stretch of the imagination, but 25 likes.
Yeah.
And 15 comments, pretty nice. But still, I mean, the fact that more than 1 in 8 people are liking that video, it's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. And the comment I made, in the course of that video was, Lucha Underground to me epitomizes what it means to love the brand without them beating you over the head with it, because they show, not tell. They don't tell you how great they are. They show it through their performers, through their aesthetic, through the way they write stories. They deserve this. They deserve all the success in the world. The idea that they've got international distribution is well deserved and about damn time. And as far as these 4 episodes go, to bring it full circle, honestly, after watching these 4 episodes, it brings to mind what you said in our last Lucha Underground rewatch. Doing a recap of 4 episodes really does seem to be perfect, because we really see here a lot of storylines come full circle and find their closure in these 4 episodes. I just think, it's incredible, especially in the trios division here.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm also going to add, I love that whenever we go on our rants about what WWE does wrong, we can always come back to Lucha Underground as a good example.
Yes.
Lucha Underground is pro wrestling done right.
It really is, people. It really is. And given how the first season was, I can only imagine how the second season will be. But as far as the first season goes, these 4 episodes were a lot of fun. Some really great moments we got to relive here. I just can't wait to go through them all with you. So I'm ready to get started, brother.
Absolutely. Well, if you're ready to get started, let's start on episode 25, which is the first episode that we watched in this chunk. And we started things out with Dario Cueto introducing the crew to Matanza.
Yes.
He tells them, I gave you guys a layup. Do you know what a layup is? It's a guaranteed shot that you should never miss. And you missed. You didn't do it. I handed you the trios titles on a silver platter, and you couldn't even beat 2 losers and 1 girl with 1 leg. And if you ever embarrass me like this again, you'll be apologizing and, of course, referring to Matanza to him.
Oh yeah, and then when they see Matanza, I love Bale's reaction the best because it's almost Booker T-esque, like what
Yeah.
the hell? Like, it's amazing. So Cueto really striking the fear of God, or should I say Matanza, in the hearts of the crew. And yeah, just a great segment again. Cueto's a scumbag. He loves violence. He doesn't care at whose expense it comes, and he's just telling the crew, hey, I gave you a gimme. You pretty much should be the Trios Tag Team Champions. You failed. You fail again. I don't hand out pink slips. No, we don't do that here. I'm going to feed you to him. And it's great. Wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah. So up next, we had our first match of this chunk, Phoenix versus Killshot. Fun match. It was kind of an exhibition match to just kind of show what Killshot can do. Killshot did end up losing this match, but he put on a show and he got people invested. And that's the right way to go about introducing a new talent that we know of, but we're not all too familiar with.
You know what I loved about this is it's an exhibition match really done right.
Yeah.
Because you really have the person go to distance. It's not like, and this is no shot at Apollo Crews or NXT because, I love both things. But, sometimes when you get matches like that, it's pretty much one-sided, more or less. And you got a really great back and forth here. So you're not only seeing the performer offensively, you're seeing them defensively. You're seeing all those, characteristics and things like that. In the end, of course, Phoenix does get the win because he's the more established guy, I believe, after the Fire Thunder driver. But yeah, it was a great effort from both the guys. I enjoyed it, and Killshot's just magnificent. I love how he works in the ring.
Absolutely. He is very impressive. Before he came to Lucha Underground, his name was Shane Strickland, and I think he still works. Yeah, he does, as a matter of fact. He still works as Shane Strickland on the Indies. And the reason I know that is because there was actually an indie show nearby, like literally 15, 20 minutes away from where I live, that he was going to be on. It was like, I was looking and he was on it, and Shane Strickland, not Shane Strickland, PJ Black, formerly Justin Gabriel, was going to be on it. And I think Matt Cross, Son of Havoc, was also going to be on it. And I was thinking about going to that, and scheduling conflicts ended up not letting me. But it's still, like, it's cool that these guys are legit, like, out there on the grind. And it's not just like, oh, we're in Lucha Underground, so we have a home and we're not going to work anything else. They're going at it, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the wrestling mentality, brother. I mean, the friends that I made in Force One, and I'll never forget a conversation I had with Niles Young. He said, hey, you want to get in this business, remember one thing, prepare to spend more money than you make. Because we are on the grind every day of the week just trying to get paid and put food on the table. And, that's why I love it. Because, guys that do it as consistently as, the Kill Shots and the Son of Havocs and things like that, I mean, they're lifers. They're doing it because that's how they survive. And, yeah, when you have great matches like this, you've pretty much found your calling. So Killshot's right where he belongs. Yep. Phoenix is certainly right where he belongs because the crowd loves him, and he's just a great act. And yeah, this is a really fun opener.
Absolutely. And, with what I just said about that indie show nearby me, I want to add, I don't know if there is an individual independent professional wrestler right now that I would rather see in Lucha Underground than PJ Black.
Oh my goodness, he would fit in so well with that scheme. I'm telling you. I think so yeah. Good. I think you put him with 2 other guys. Not saying that he couldn't do singles, but I think he would really thrive in the trios division if you gave him 2 complementary partners.
Dude, him on a Helico and Jack Evans as a trio.
Oh my God, yes. Do it.
I know Angelico's been trios champions already, but it seemed like at the end of season 1 there was a little bit of closure and that team was done since they lost the titles. So stick him in there with Jack Evans, his tag team partner in AAA, toss in another South African guy, PJ Black, and my mind will be blown.
I think yours and everybody else's, you can redecorate the entire temple with the collective brain matter from that union. So here's to hoping it may come to light. I mean, hell, for Angelico, how great would it be to be a part of a team where you actually get along with the people you're tagging with? So there you go.
Right?
But yeah, man, what came after this?
After this, we had, I believe, a backstage segment. Yeah, Dario Cueto confronts Drago in the locker room because this is the episode where Drago gets to face Prince Puma, where if he doesn't win the title, he's banned from the temple. And Cueto tells Drago that he never thanked him and that you don't have to thank me, but after tonight, I think you will, because he's convinced Drago's winning the title. And if he doesn't, he's not going to thank him because he's not going to be in the temple anymore. So,
Right.
yeah, there you go. Cueto being a scumbag as usual. Up next, we had Puma in his locker room. Cueto walks up to him and talks to him as well. Of course, Hernandez shows up, though, and Cueto sets up the three-way between Hernandez, King Cuerno, and Cage for the following week, or actually it is for this episode, for number one contendership for the world title. So, we get confirmation on Drago Puma for later in this episode, and then we get Hernandez, Cuerno, and Cage set up in a triple threat number one contender match.
Yeah, great stuff. Really laying the groundwork, for this episode and future episodes. Because Hernandez, in that whole segment showed more heelish tendencies, saying I don't care about Puma, this and that. You got these guys jumping me, and then of course Cueto incentivizes the matchup, like you said, and so we're really seeing all these things kind of take a shift. So yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff.
And then we get our second match of the night, a fatal four-way between Famous B, Ricky Mandel, Vinny Massaro, and Argenis.
The fatal four-way that never was.
Yeah, because Tejano comes out and destroys everyone and challenges Daivari.
Yep, and just saying, I'm going to give you the beating of your life. You want to fight? Come in here and do it with me. So, yeah, this is the beginning. Well, not really the beginning, but I guess the continuation of the whole Daivari-Tejano feud, because, of course, the beginning would be when Daivari assaulted Tejano.
Yeah, but I would say that this was the beginning of Tejano's face turn.
Yes, that I would agree with wholeheartedly.
Because it's funny, because, like, in hindsight, we were like, man, how did it make any sense for Tejano to turn face? But this right here is why.
Yeah, and they went with the whole blue collar versus white collar kind of angle. Because they're like, oh, Tejano worked for everything he had, and Alvar Daivari, like, his family owns real estate, and never worked for his money. It was more like an inheritance kind of thing. Like Stokely Hathaway's kids.
Like Donald Trump.
And Donald Trump, yeah, there you go. So, yeah, I like the whole dichotomy, and we'll talk more about the feud as we progress into the episode. So this is a good segment, though.
All right, so now we get Marty the Moth. The first time we ever see Marty the Moth outside the temple. He said that he was camping there for almost a week, and that he wants to be not just, at the show clapping for the people. He wants to be in the show. He wants to be a part of the show. But Cueto doesn't want him to get hurt. He says that if you would put him up against anybody in his temple, that he would get, squashed like a moth. As he starts walking away, Marty is like up in arms talking about how he wants a shot, and Cueto calls for security. So there you go.
Yeah, Ashton, I remember you popped pretty big for Marty the Moth when we first saw him, because I know you've been following this guy's career, before he was Marty the Moth.
You know who he is, right?
I forget his name. I know who he is, but I'm not making the connection right now. Just refresh my memory real quick.
His real name is Martin Casillas, but the reason that he's got significance is because he was in the 2011 season with Tough Enough.
Right.
He was the guy. Obviously his name on the show was Martin. That's his real name. But on Tough Enough, everybody, including the coaches, Stone Cold Steve Austin, everyone thought that he was the favorite to win. And then he got injured and had to leave the season.
Right, okay.
Did you watch that season of Tough Enough?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
But
that
yeah, I do remember
why
you
you're
telling
not
me that
as
story.
familiar with him, because to me, he was cutting promos and he was doing good in-ring work, and he really was the best of the best of that season. And then with like 4 or 5 people left, he ended up getting hurt. And Silent Rage, Andy Levine ended up winning, and he lasted less than a year in the Performance Center.
I know, man. I know. I hate when stuff like that
But
happens.
Martin ended up he continued working at it, and he worked the indies, and next thing you know, here he is in Lucha Underground, and I love it.
I love it too, because you know what? Considering that we just did a whole massive commentary yesterday about what WWE is kind of doing wrong and why they can't create new stars, I'm glad that Martin ended up here as Marty the Moth, because, this gimmick, as we'll talk about more later, this is just the introduction, this gimmick is great.
I think what's really special about Lucha Underground, I shouldn't say that. One of the things about Lucha Underground that is special is that everyone could be a main eventer with the right push.
Yes, thank you for saying that, because That's exactly how I feel about this promotion. I feel like, take a guy like Famous B, for example. You know, one season, yeah, he could be like losing every match, but Lucha Underground's the type of show that their writers are just so consistently creative and strong. Like, if they had a vested interest in Famous B for season 2, they could turn him into a main eventer, and I could buy it. It may take some time, but they could do it. And that's what I love about this promotion. So you take a guy like Marty, and what the great thing, and I hope everybody takes this the right way, because I don't mean this in a bad way, but I think the great thing about the Marty the Moths, even though what happened to them, you know, getting hurt and not being able to go to WWE is tragic for sure, because you never want anybody to get hurt, it makes them a clean slate when they come here. You know, they don't have like all that bad. They can really start fresh, have that new identity, and I love this gimmick. I really do. It's glorious. And yeah, again, we'll get into it a bit more later, but this is a great introductory segment. And Cueto's just awkwardness talking to Marty the Moth, that almost made me feel like, oh man, Cueto must feel like he's got a mass transit on his hands or something. Like, he lets this guy in here, he's going to get just absolutely demolished. And yeah, just really fun segment here.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we get our third match of the night. As announced earlier, Hernandez, King Cuerno, and Cage, where the winner gets a title shot with Puma. Of course, though, this was an amazing match, first of all, but Marty the Moth does end up showing up at one point in this match, only to get beat up. Hernandez ends up winning, I believe, pinning King Cuerno.
Yeah, I remember, because I said that King Cuerno was going to win this thing, and you said Hernandez. And like what would happen a few times throughout the course of the season, the guy that I picked ended up being pinned by the guy that you picked. It still stings a little, I'm not going to lie. But
yeah, I can tell by the fact that you brought it up.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a really fun match. I enjoyed it. Seeing Hernandez just kind of impose his will on everybody again, he did masterful work in this one season that he was a part of. Cage, of course, is fantastic. Cuerno is just amazing. And yeah, just these three guys really came together, and they did a really excellent triple threat, so I enjoyed this.
Yeah, and you know what, dude? If memory serves me correctly, and we'll find out next week because the match doesn't happen until the next set of episodes that we're going to watch, but if my memory serves correct, Hernandez versus Prince Puma for the title is probably to date my most underrated match of the year.
You know what? You're probably right, because I remember that match, and I remember how favorably you looked upon that match.
And I think the reason that it got so overlooked was because it was right before the Mil Muertes death match with Phoenix, where he put him through the building.
Right.
And people just overlooked the match because that spot happened.
How great is it that one of Lucha Underground's fiercest competitors is itself? Like, it has so many great matches just in this first season. And like, everybody's like, what was your favorite match or your most underrated? And yet, so many great matches from season 1. Good Definitely. God.
All right. So now we get to our main event of episode 25, Drago Puma. Of course, this was the episode or the match where Hernandez came in the ring and looked like he was going to attack Puma, but Puma got out of the way. Hernandez ended up hitting Drago, and then Drago was done. I believe Puma won with a Samoan driver. And yeah, this was tragic because we were all kind of convinced that this was the last we would see of Drago because of his combination of the fact that it felt like he was kind of stagnant and he a little bit on the older side, 39, 40 years old, somewhere around there at the time. But no, we ended up seeing him later in the season, and I can't wait because his return was one of the coolest things that happened all season.
This match was a lot of fun.
Yes.
I really enjoyed what these two guys did together. Also, too, I have to give Lucha Underground huge credit because I think they were able to walk the line perfectly of kind of absolving Prince Puma from what happened and keeping him as that strong, likable babyface, and just putting
because of the way that he acted. Because even through the mask, he has some of the best facial expressions in the company.
He really does, and it works so well for him. And yet another one of the multitude of reasons why he was the inaugural champion, and I would say even without the title, he is the man of Lucha Underground, is because of things like that. Because after Hernandez, pretty much assaults Drago, even though everybody was like, oh, he was aiming for Puma, and you've got Conan telling him capitalize. Puma just looks torn to shreds over it. Like, he knows, like, I do this, I take away a man's livelihood, I didn't want to do it this way, And even after the fact, he was frustrated. He wasn't celebrating like, yeah, I'm still a champ. So I think they walked that line perfectly of giving a babyface a tainted victory without losing that babyface credibility to begin with. So excellent job here.
Definitely. And then we get the backstage segment where Drago kind of shakes Cueto's hand and says, "We will meet again." And then, of course, returns to El Inframundo.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Crazy stuff, man.
That fire pillar, though, John.
So good. So
Right,
good.
though?
Oh, man.
All right, so then we get to episode 26. We start things off with Mundo and El Patron in Cueto's office. Both of them want a title shot. They both think that they deserve it over Hernandez. And Cueto does agree, but he thinks that, he doesn't think Hernandez should have to fight both of them. So he sets them up in a match tonight where the winner will face Hernandez the following week for the right to fight Puma for the title. So we've literally had, by the end of all this stuff, we will have literally had 3 matches, basically a miniature tournament to find a number 1 contender for the championship. Because you have Hernandez versus Cuerno versus Cage, and the winner of that fights the winner of Mundo Patron, and the winner of that only gets a shot at the title. They aren't the champion, they get a shot at the title. So it's a really elaborate miniature tournament, and I love it.
And when you frame it that way, it really just shows you how illustrious the prize is.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that so much, that you have to jump through hoops just to be able to stand in the same ring as the champion with the gold in between
you.
you.
Look what Drago had to do to get it, man. He had to win 3 out of 5 matches against his friend. And then if he didn't win the title, he had to leave.
Exactly. Like, the emphasis they put on the Lucha Underground Championship, I love it, because, and I think that's what made an event like Ultima Lucha, which I can't wait to rewatch that with you, feel so big, because you realize, like, this championship matters. And I'll have more to say about that when we get to the appropriate venues, but for now, this segment was great, really built up the anticipation, obviously, for me being the Mundo mark from hell, and, just 2 great athletes in Patron and Mundo, so just awesome stuff. I got goosebumps when I first saw this, so fun stuff.
So we get the first match of the night here, Angelico and Son of Havoc versus Cortez Castro and Mr. Cisco. Of course, the heels end up winning this because it's 2-on-2, and I think Castro ended up using an eye rake to help them set up the winning, basically shatter machine. I don't know what they call it, but that's what the mechanics call it, so I'm just going to go with it. And it's the flapjack into the inverted lung blower. So Ivelisse was sitting in the crowd barking out orders, but it didn't matter because, like I said, the crew ended up winning this match. And that was what led to a segment later on where Cueto is like, yeah, I'm going to need to give them another title shot. So
yeah.
Oh, man.
Good matchup. I love Ivelisse just barking orders, like, at ringside, like sitting with the audience. I swear, she is probably the worst backseat driver. Like, I would never go on a road trip with her. Like, you missed the turn. What are you doing? I am driving. I have got the maps in the front seat. Calm down. And, like, I don't know, man.
So you're telling me you wouldn't want her voice to be on your GPS?
Oh, God. I don't know, man. I think it would make me want to drink. Turn
left in 10 feet!
I said turn left. I heard you. God. But yeah, she's great.
Oh, man. She is. She's so good, though. Like, that's the thing. I cannot wait to see her healthy again because she's underrated, criminally so underrated.
Oh, I would agree with you, first of all, and second of all, and this is nothing against Team Sitcom at all, please understand, but I really am looking forward to just their dissolution. I want it to be amicable, but, I want to see what these guys can all do in singles, particularly Ivelisse, because a healthy Ivelisse, I think, can do anything. So, yeah, good matchup. The crew wins again after the Shatter Machine. And, yeah, Cueto's a scumbag later on, but we'll get to that. So
up next, Delavar Davari. I don't think we had learned his name yet, but we know it now. So Delavar Davari is sitting in Dario Cueto's office. Cueto finds it a little bit odd that Davari would show up since he doesn't really need the money. Davari makes it very clear that he's here because even though Cueto likes to watch people inflict violence, he likes to be the one doing the inflicting. And Cueto's like, all right, well, let's see how much violence you can inflict on Tejano. And this ends up being our next match, but in between that segment and the match, we get Hernandez, Conan, and Prince Puma backstage having a little bit of a confrontation. And then Cueto kind of shows up and he's like, oh, by the way, Hernandez, just so you know, you're not the number one contender yet. You're going to have to beat the winner of Mundo Patron next week.
I love
and
it.
by the way, Puma, you're teaming up with him in a match later against King Cuerno and Cage. So have fun.
I love how offhandedly he says it too. Like, I feel like he'd be perfect in that Office Space setting. Just punctuated by looking at Conan and saying, yeah, and if you could, like, handle all this for me, that'd be great. And then just walks off.
I'm going to need you to go ahead and come in on Sunday.
Oh my god. But yeah, again, Cueto to me, the more we talk about him on this rewatch, the more honestly I think he's one of my favorite characters in Lucha Underground. He doesn't even compete. Like, I love this man so much. And yeah, I just love the offhanded nature that he delivered this news. And again, just really capitalizing on the tension between Puma and Hernandez. Great stuff.
Absolutely. So then we get our match that didn't even really happen. Tejano versus Daivari. Really just a brawl. I think Tejano ended up getting himself disqualified, so by technicality, Daivari won this, but it really wasn't much of a match at all.
Exactly. It was just a fight. Tejano wanting to get out his anger on Delavar Daivari. And of course, again, we know the feud will continue because this was just so inconclusive. Just a basic brawl, but it was good enough for me.
Yeah, so then we get King Cuerno and Cage versus Puma and Hernandez. Of course, Hernandez ends up costing Puma the match. It is worth noting that Puma didn't get pinned by Cuerno. He got pinned by Cage after Weapon X.
Oh my god. Hernandez in this, though, was just gold. Particularly towards the end. Like, oh man, that suicide dive looks like it's really going to hurt from Cuerno. Nope. And then just pushes Puma in front of it and then just walks off. Like, really saunters off. Like, yeah, I did it. I'm bad. What of it?
Does the freaking strut thing that he does with his arms.
Yes. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he border toss Puma on the apron to punctuate it?
He sure did.
Yeah, just to show without a shadow of a doubt, yeah, I don't like you. I don't like you at all. And then just walks
just
off.
In case you guys were wondering if me pulling him into the suicide dive was an accident, here you go.
Exactly. And then I love Conan raising his cane, like, sit your old ass down. The hell are you doing?
Hey, man, that cane helped Puma beat Cage.
Yeah, and he's using up the rope. Freaking Conan. Now I'm really understanding Vampiro, rewatching all this again. Tired of Conan's crap.
But Vampiro's the bad guy!
Listen, man. He gave Pentagon Jr. companionship. Heal my ass.
That's true. That is, well, you know what? He gave him companionship, but he also made him break a bunch of people's arms, so.
Okay, you know what? Sometimes you gotta break a few arms to make a friendship happen, okay? Worthwhile sacrifice.
That's not a thing.
It is now, man. You saw it. But yeah,
that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
Listen, man. You know when you started watching Lucha Underground that your mind wouldn't be able to reconcile half the shit that we saw. I'm still wondering how another man can eat one man's face. But yeah.
Dude, okay, first of all, Matanza is not a man. And second of all, we don't know if he ate his face or if he just clawed it off or if he just bashed it up against the bars of the prison, or we don't even know. We just don't know. Maybe he had like a machete and he literally just cut his face off.
Who knows, man? Who knows? All I know, all my eyes tell me, is that Puma got pinned in tag team action, and Cage and Cuerno are just amazing together. So, yeah, good stuff.
Metal Deer. Forget the Solid. We don't need him. He's a babyface now.
Yeah, exactly. Screw him.
So next we had Black Lotus. She wants to leave this little compound that she's been with El Dragon Azteca in, but El Dragon Azteca doesn't want to let her leave. So he tells her that if she can take him down, she can leave. Of course she can't, because El Dragon Azteca is literally a Super Saiyan. And we just kind of end it there.
Yep, the training and mentoring continues. Black Lotus, yeah. Yeah, she's not ready. But she grows increasingly frustrated because vengeance is the only thing on her mind. And El Dragon Azteca is like, hey, your time will come. Just calm down. So, yeah, I enjoyed this segment. This is a really fun storyline to follow throughout the first season. And, man, its climax, which we'll get to, was just
We
Wow.
haven't even gotten to a climax, really.
I know. Yeah, really. We got teased even more. So thank goodness the season 2 was confirmed. I might have gone postal on people if it went the other way. I'm not going to lie. So
I mean,
there
I
you
guess
go.
you could say we got a climax to specifically the Black Lotus and El Dragon Azteca thing, but we still, Matanza is still such a big mystery.
I know, man. It's crazy.
Oh, man. So then we get our main event, Mundo versus Patron. Winner faces Hernandez next week for number 1 contendership. And this was an amazing match. There's nothing to take away from it. But Patron does end up getting his foot on a rope after an end of the world. And he ends up winning, not with an armbar, so it wasn't a tap out victory, but he held the armbar in for a while, and they just did a ton of stuff to Mundo. Ends up winning with that super kick that he used to beat Dolph Ziggler in WWE for the world title.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match the first time watching it for, obvious reasons. What I really love about it, watching it the second time around, I can appreciate it more objectively knowing the result. It really was a war of attrition. That's how they booked it. It really came down to both men were so spent, the first big shot was going to win, and Patron just happened to get that shot. And what I like about it was it was one of those things where you can't say that the guy wasn't better. He was just better for 3 seconds.
Yep.
And yeah, I really like that style of booking. And this is just me being sincere. I would be saying the same thing if it was Mundo pinning Patron. You've got 2 high-profile guys, bolstering the legitimacy of your promotion. And when you have those 2 clash, first of all, it's a big matchup for sure, but you want to try and protect both guys. I think they did that flawlessly. This is a phenomenal main event.
Dude, it just hit me. I think that our next set of episodes is going to conclude. Episode 32, I believe, was all night long.
Oh my god.
So that's going to be our next main event of main events, which, I mean, this week was the Trios Championship ladder match, so it's very fitting.
Right, yeah, absolutely, man.
All right, so up next, Katrina revives Mil Muertes.
Yes. He has the power of 1,000 lives, so he may rise again. And oh man, this segment was so good.
It really was.
Oh my god. We talked earlier about Lucha Underground and how it's able to, make stars and even take people who may have had a higher profile somewhere, Johnny Mundo and El Patron, and just really make them seem fresh and things like that. Who would have thought that Katrina, formerly known as Maxine on the comedic season of NXT, where it seemed like they were never going to get off the island, would become something just so badass and so wonderful. I love it. I love watching her work. And Mil Muertes just opening up his eyes in the casket. Just fantastic imagery. I loved everything about this, dude.
Yeah, this was so good.
Without a doubt, man. Without a doubt.
So, and she does also, at this point, she does say his real name again. She said Pascual Mendoza again.
Right. Yes. Good catch. Good catch.
Yeah. So, man, I love this show so much. So then we get episode 27, and we get, the first thing was Cueto talking to Matanza about the 7 ancient Aztec medallions. He says that once united, they will make one warrior as powerful as the gods themselves, perhaps even more powerful. Perhaps even more powerful than you, he says to Matanza. And then he does say something very odd and humanizing. He says Papa would be proud. So apparently they do have a father. It's just a matter of whether that father is human or not.
Yeah, something about knowing that these 2 actually have parents is even more mortifying.
Right, though?
I'm like, how deep does the freak hole go, huh? So there you go. But great segment introducing the Aztec medallions, and the way they introduced them as this interplay between Cueto and Matanza. I mean, mostly Cueto, of course, because Matanza's this cage beast. I don't even know if he knows how to speak. But, really raises the allure, like, what are they? What are they used for? Which story are they going to fit into? So they did a great job introducing these. Yeah,
if Matanza ever does speak, his voice should be Braun Strowman's voice.
Yes. Oh, my God. Horrifying.
I killed a snake once.
I heard Braun Strowman say, it's like, I got killed a snake once. I skinned it
Skinned
alive
it
and drank
alive
its
and
blood.
drank its blood. It's in a better place now.
And I'm like, that's great, Braun. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
slowly backpedal towards the door, and you keep doing that, man. You keep doing that. Yeah, Matanza though would probably look at Braun Strowman and be like, please, really? Is that all you've done? I freaking eat people and or mutilate them with machetes, one or the other. It
All you can handle is a little snake, bitch, please.
Exactly.
I'm going full-blown cannibal over here.
Oh my god. Oh man. So what came after this, brother?
Well, before the segment ended, Cueto did say that he was going to bring a TV up so Matanza could enjoy the mayhem. So that was interesting as well. Match number one though was the debut of Jack Evans, which was amazing. He went against Aerostar. I love Jack Evans so much, and it was one of those things where I knew I liked him before he even showed up. But then just his tactics, both in Lucha Underground and in PWG, have just won me over a million times more. He's so good.
Jack Evans, for one thing, he's a phenomenal high flyer. I think he's got a technical flair about him that's just so enjoyable to watch. But what made me gravitate to him, and I think I echo your sentiments here, because what you just got done saying, the personality is so on point. I know I joke around people a lot like, oh, I gravitate towards douchebags, but it's not really that much of a joke. I love a good douchebag character. That's why, like, I'm loving Kevin Owens right now.
Have you
love
seen
Seth
Jack
Rollins.
Evans do his drunk shtick yet?
Where he does like the drunken fist. I think I have seen him do that.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. I
It's
want
amazing.
him, like, I want somebody with that as their gimmick. They literally just show up to the ring drunk every night and win fights with that style.
Yeah, oh my god. And Jack Evans just being like, I invented Lucha Libre. I am Lucha Libre. He knew how to get heat. He knew the crowd that he was a part of. He knew how to generate heat. He worked everything around him. And I think I've even said, like, either on here, I know I've said it on one commentary or two. I love a guy that knows how to work everything and not just the squared circle. You have a whole environment to play with, and Jack Evans strikes me as that kind of guy. This is a phenomenal matchup with great back and forth. Aerostar does get the win, but what a debut for Jack Evans, though. He did a 450 off the guardrail. That was one spot that stuck out in my mind. I think Aerostar won after a flipping pile driver off the top rope, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, just these guys went out and they killed it. What a debut for Jack Evans here.
How familiar are you with old school games, John?
Somewhat familiar. It depends. What are you thinking here?
Sega Saturn?
No, that I'm not
Okay.
familiar with.
When I was very young, we're talking like under 6 even, my dad had a Sega Saturn, and my favorite game to play was Virtua Fighter 2.
Okay.
And in Virtua Fighter 2, one of the fighters is an old man named Shun Di, and he is an herbal doctor from China who uses drunken kung fu.
That's amazing.
He does the whole shtick that Jack Evans does, where he's like wobbling around in the ring with his fists up, and like someone throws a punch and he just kind of ducks it and makes it look like an accident, but he knows what he's doing. I want a wrestler with that gimmick.
That gimmick,
and if it has to be Jack Evans, so be it. I just want it.
Yeah, you seem really determined to get it. I think it would be cool. Certainly unique, because we really haven't seen it as a consistent character, anywhere that I've watched. So it would be new.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Hall kind of pulled it off in the mid-90s, but that's a different case.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, hey, you never know what can happen. And for me, Jack Evans, I mean, like I said, I love the entire locker room of Lucha Underground, so I'm not gonna play favorites or pick and choose. But I mean, Jack Evans, here's to hoping he has a great season 2 too, because I loved what they did with him in season 1, and it was just a great introduction to how amazing this performer is.
Yeah, I mean, what I loved about Virtua Fighter 2 wasn't even him. There were two different characters. One of them was Jeffrey, and the other one was Wolf Hawkfield. And he was this big, scary Viking-looking dude with red hair and a ponytail, and he would suplex and pile drive people. So I always used him because he used wrestling moves.
Nice. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty great. So that being said, though, let's move on. As amazing as Jack Evans is, we have to move on. The Mac backstage asks Big Rick where he got all the money that he saw in counting. And Rick just kind of pulled the old, oh, it's none of your business shtick. And Mac was like, oh, come on, man, I'm your family. And then Rick was just like, this business is about making money while you can. I know you got in here to show off your fancy moves, but you need to learn what the business is all about. And it's just so great because he's just like, for the right amount of money, I'd even whip somebody in my own family's ass. And then
I love the tone you pulled out there. I'm dying over here.
I love that Big Rick is basically Lucha Underground's Scott Steiner.
I was going to say Lucha Underground's Kevin Nash. Because Kevin
hybrid,
Nash...
John, hybrid.
Deal.
Talks like Scott Steiner, says things that Kevin Nash would say.
Perfect. I'll take it. You got a deal. But I really felt bad for the Mac here. I kind of wanted to give him a hug. I'm like, oh, man. No, it just...
But then the following match was an amazing match involving the Mac.
I know, right? And then he's just like, bitch, I don't need your sympathy. And I'm like, okay. You just, you do whatever.
Because the following match was the 7-way for the Aztec Medallion. Killshot, King Cuerno, Cage, Pentagon Jr., Sexy Star, Phoenix, and the Mac.
Yeah, what a great match this was.
This
oh my God.
might have been the second best match in this chunk of episodes behind the Trios ladder match.
Yeah. I mean, this was just phenomenal. Especially the interactions, if I do say so personally, between Phoenix and Pentagon Jr.
Dude, not even Phoenix. Everything Pentagon did here was incredible.
I just want Pentagon to work with everybody next season.
Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, the fact that there's a match between Pentagon Jr. and Zack Sabre Jr. that exists that I haven't seen yet physically causes me pain.
In time, my friend, in time. But no, Pentagon, I agree with you. He was phenomenal here. I mean, the whole gory special package pile driver combo that he did to Phoenix and Sexy Star. I mean, good God. And then when he's just like sitting up and he's kind of got that look like, yeah, that was easy. And like he just wants to hurt more people. Like, I'm telling you, dude, you and I always joke because we'll get asked on different wrestling forums or we'll kind of talk to each other like, who is your fave 5? And for me, it's always constantly changing. Pentagon Jr. would have to be up there, certainly in my top 10 consistently.
You know what's hilarious, John? I literally just went back and edited the fave 5, the 5 fave 5s list on my YouTube channel in my About section.
Right.
After Night of Champions, live reactions got uploaded. Gordon said something about how Seth Rollins was in my fave 5, and I realized that, and I went back and I edited them, so he's not anymore. And my Lucha Underground fave 5 is Angelico, Johnny Mundo, King Cuerno, Prince Puma, and Cage, and I'm just thinking, oh my God, how could I have forgotten Pentagon?
Yeah, really, man. To me, if we were going strictly Lucha Underground, I mean, obviously one would be Johnny Mundo. I think 2, though, would be Pentagon.
Yeah, that's the same thing for me, too. I would put Pentagon at 2 as well.
Like, I love everything this guy is about. And seeing him in this match, the back and forth with Sexy Star, with Phoenix. I mean, like you said it best, everything he did here, and yet he still comes up short. Because Phoenix gets the win here, he wins the first medallion. But man, if Pentagon didn't look like one of the stars, if not the star of this match. Loved what he did here.
Yeah, definitely. So good. And for those of you interested in what my other fave 5s are, WWE, NXT, New Japan, Indies/ROH, and then I have a bonus fave 5 tag teams. Go ahead and check out the About section in my YouTube channel. I'm not going to waste time talking about it all here. So up next, we had Dario Cueto backstage telling Team Sitcom they have to defend the titles next week in a ladder match. If they don't want to, he'll strip them, but they do insist on fighting. This is the part where Evilise was just like, I don't need my hands to whip their asses. And then he was just like, oh, but you're going to need, or I don't need my legs to whip their asses. And then he's just like, yeah, but you'll probably need it to climb the ladder because that's what kind of match it is. It's just like, oh, you scumbag.
I love it. She's, feeling confident, feeling good. Like, hey, I got my hands. That's all I need to be there. I was actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to need to climb a ladder, sweetheart. Sorry.
It's like, oh, Cueto, you.
Sorry, not sorry.
Exactly. That's Dario Cueto in a nutshell for you.
It really is. So then we get Katrina in Phoenix's locker room telling him that he was a pawn for death. So congratulations, Phoenix. How does that feel?
Yeah, to be used and just discarded like nothing. And then he
I mean, he
tries
got
to.
some hot makeout sessions in, but I don't know if that was worth it, really.
It wasn't.
No.
Knowing what happens to this poor boy, no, it wasn't. All right. And then like I think I'm not gonna say he was gonna attack Katrina. We don't know what he was gonna do because he tried grabbing her. She disappears, and then you see the disciples of death make their descent, upon Phoenix, and then like just the crazy mind games really continue here.
Yep. Yeah, that was one of the most well shot scenes I think in this whole season was the Disciples of Death first appearance.
Oh, it was so well done, dude. I really got that creepy vibe going. I think the atmosphere was right. Just fantastic.
So then we had our third match and our final match of the night, Alberto El Patron versus Hernandez for the number one contendership to the Lucha Underground Championship. And of course, John, I'm going to let you take this one.
Yeah, it was a good back and forth matchup. Hernandez tried to have Patron well scouted. Tried to do the heel work of keeping the distance, really imposing his will. Patron was making the comeback, and just when it seemed like he was going to be on the verge of winning, we got a bit of an interruption by Johnny Mundo, who pulled Patron out, DDT'd his sorry ass on the floor, and then when he pegged up that carcass, he did what I've been wanting him to do. I don't even know the number of years, but you figure it out. And he chucked him through Cueto's office window, where his body just remained limp while he was figuring out in his head how much glass shards he was going to have to pick out of his damn face. And then when Mundo takes his sorry ass out of the window where it's just limp and lifeless, he puts him back in the ring. Hernandez has this look on his face like, what's going on right now? And then he smiles because he knows that the Guru of Greatness has just gift-wrapped a World Heavyweight Championship opportunity for Hernandez. He hooks the leg, 1, 2, 3 count, and Alberto El Bitchbag tastes defeat. So suck on that!
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Suck on that something fierce.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But seriously though, great segment. I mean, you know how happy I was that Mundo turned heel because I think he's been doing babyface. I'm not saying he's a bad babyface. I think he's really good in that role. But I love seeing him as a heel because I just feel like, when you're about what Johnny Mundo's about, the fur coats and the Hollywood premieres, it just has a natural heel bent to me. So to see him come back to that atmosphere and knowing what him and Patron would do later, I don't regret it one bit. Normally, like with a rewatch like this, you'd get to look back and you'd think, well, did they make the right call? And I can double down and I can say they absolutely made the right call. So happy he's heel. Fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think anyone's questioning that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, just
I mean,
right
even
where
the
he
people
belongs.
that don't like him still admit that he was way better as a heel than he is as a babyface.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, I'm right there with you. People, I would hear it all the time when he was in WWE. And even now, like when I read the AV Club review for Ultima Lucha, they'd say, always something Shawn Michaels-esque about Mundo. And seeing him as a heel and everything he's learned over doing this for 10 years, like, this was just him at his best to me. I love this.
Absolutely. All right, so now we get to our final episode in this chunk, episode 28, and we start things off with a match between Prince Puma and Marty the Moth Martinez. Of course, though, I'm not going to just pass it by without mentioning it. This was also the episode that Matt Stryker brought Twitwell up, gave us a shout out. Thank you, Matt Stryker and Krista Joseph and Chris Roach and everyone that had anything to do with that shout out. It was amazing. We were losing our minds all night when we saw that.
You guys are absolutely incredible. We still appreciate it to this day. I couldn't help but smile when I heard it again, Ashton. It's just absolutely surreal, even now with all this time that's passed.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for these guys that they've got a second season. They can continue, building on their dream and doing what they love because they've got a vision, and I'll be damned if they're not executing it. So thank you guys so much. You're incredible. And as far as this match goes, I mean, Ashley, I want to backpedal just a bit if you don't mind, because what I loved about this wasn't even anything in ring just yet. I mean, even from the introductions, Marty the Moth sniffing Melissa Santos
while waving his arms like a moth.
While waving his arms. And poor Melissa Santos, she's adorable.
She's so composed. I love it.
She's so composed, but she's also a pretty good, and I really do mean this as a compliment, because I feel like sometimes WWE takes non-actors or actresses and tries to make them act or whatever, and it just comes off awkward. Melissa Santos is just so great with her body language and everything, between the whole Pentagon thing that she did, and I loved how she acted there, and then like the way she's announcing his name, like as he's sniffing, Marty the Moth Martinez. And it's just like, please get away from me. Yeah. Please get away from me. Like, what are you doing? So, yeah, that was great. Way to really up the creep factor there for Marty the Moth. And then the match with Puma. I love the tone it sets right at the opening bell, because Marty's acting like a fan. Like, oh my god, it's Prince Puma. Everybody, it's Prince Puma. I'm in the ring with Prince Puma. Can we get a selfie? I want a selfie. And then it's like, trying to take a picture together. Conan all the while was like, Puma, you're being stupid. You need to put this away right now. This is a match. And then Marty just proceeds to take Puma's head off, man.
Yep. He destroyed him. He absolutely destroyed him. And that was really the closest it looked like to Marty winning this match, because Puma with the comeback.
Oh my god, yeah. You know what I liked about this match, Josh, and really watching it again? I think it showed how strong and credible Puma is for sure. But again, I think it showed Conan's usefulness once again. And like, that's actually one of the more interesting things to go back and really watch again throughout the first season, because normally you just think, well, what's a manager really good for? And I think they really have a way of showing the vitalness of the relationship between Conan and Puma on Puma's end, like why he does need Conan, because he knew before anybody, like, hey, stay on him, this isn't a joke, take it seriously. And then Puma had to learn on his own. He had to sink or swim on his own, and he did swim, admittedly, but it just shows, like, that's why he has Conan. That's why he's in your ear. And I love stuff like that, because it really shows, like, why this relationship matters, why it's important. So I really appreciated that.
Conan's that wily old veteran, and even if he doesn't trust people, it's a good thing sometimes, because some people can't be trusted.
Exactly. So
psychopaths like Marty the Moth definitely can't be trusted.
Certainly not. Just ask Melissa Santos. But
ask Sexy Star by the end of the season.
Oh my god, I can't wait to watch Ultima Lucha with you, bro. It's gonna be amazing. But all right, what came after this, man?
Vampiro. Actually, no, let's not get to that yet, because there was a post-match promo here. Hernandez showed up at the top of the steps, and Conan really cut him down with the promo.
Oh, yeah.
This was when Conan called him baby nuts.
I still don't get that at all, but it's hilarious. Yeah, just said that,
I'm gonna tell you what, John, while you're talking, I'm gonna look up baby nuts on Urban Dictionary.
You do that. Yeah, this is a great segment. Conan really, again, just running down Hernandez, saying, we went way back. I thought I could trust you, but you're nothing more than a punk. You think you're hard, but, you're not hard at all. You're not from the streets. And, you want to come down here, we can do the championship match tonight. Prince Puma will take care of you right now. Come on, baby nuts. And Hernandez is just like, oh, you want some of this? You want some of this? And then he walks off like, nah, I pick my spots. So it was great, really seeing Conan go to bat for Puma, and Hernandez just being like, nah, man, I ain't doing that. On my time. So really good stuff. So, Ashley, do we have a definition for baby nuts here?
Okay, so I have a couple. First one is a lighthearted insult about someone slightly younger than you. Not really sure of the validity of that, but the next one makes a lot more sense. Someone who's timid or a choke artist, someone who can't handle pressure, the opposite of clutch.
Wow, okay. Oh, man. Context makes everything funnier.
So, yeah, that's, I don't know, man. That's kind of low.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Conan, when he goes hard, man. He's gonna make.
All right, so now we can get to Vampiro. Sit down interview with Johnny Mundo. And before you get this, because I'm going to hand the ball off to you here, John, I just have two words for you. Johnny Rudo.
Yeah, I don't really know what kind of review you or anybody else would expect me to give when a man tells the truth. That's really what happened here. Johnny Mundo main evented the very first episode of Lucha Underground, and Alberto El Patron just thinks he can waltz in here and do whatever he wants. I don't think that's how it works, actually.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's so funny because he's supposed to be a heel, but it doesn't feel like it.
It really doesn't.
I mean, it feels like he's being cocky and arrogant and stuff, but he's speaking so much truth.
I know exactly. I'm telling you, it really makes me sick thinking about it. Like, oh, you waltz in here, and then within a few episodes, you're within an eyelash of being able to compete for the Lucha Underground Championship. Patron, we're shutting that
As
down.
Stone Cold would say,
And yeah, I don't blame Mundo for empowering himself, in a place that he helped build and taking charge. But of course, they already knew that. And I love that he mocked him at the end. Like, oh, he must think I'm some guy in catering that he could just smack around. Actually, yeah, you probably did think that, and you were wrong. That's why you're eating glass. So, I love
well, I
this.
mean, he's not eating it anymore. He's picking it out of his skull now.
Exactly. Well, regardless, face meet glass, it's a horrible relationship no matter how you look at it.
I mean, unless
And
it's Alberto El Patron's face, in which case it fits perfectly.
well, yeah, I mean, it's like Christmas morning for me every morning.
For you? How about for him?
Yeah, and him too. But yeah, I mean, not really much of a review to give. It was a man simply telling the truth, and that's why I defend the Mundos, the Owens, the Rollins of the world. They're so mischaracterized and misjudged. It's really quite sickening, actually. So good on Mundo for standing up for himself, and Patron, you're a little bitch. So there you go.
There you go. All right, so now we can move on to our second match of the night, Delavar Daivari versus Tejano. Of course, the second time in a row that this match doesn't end up with a decisive finish because Big Rick interferes, causing a disqualification.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, and this isn't to be critical of really anybody. This is just my personal feeling. To me, this is the beginning of the downfall of Big Rick because I really don't think he was ever as interesting at this point. I think he regained a little bit of interest towards the end, when he supposedly reconciled with Dario Cueto. I still don't know what the nature of the relationship is now. But yeah, I really didn't care too much for this because, just about collecting that money. But then again, I think it did generate a good bit of heat for him, which is the ultimate aim for a heel. So in that sense, it was good. He really reestablished himself as a villain, and I still like the booking of him being able to take anybody's head off and just be in this powerhouse. And yeah, just lays out Tejano. But then I love Daivari here. See, I was really getting into the Daivari gimmick. Before it kind of lost steam towards the end of the first season because then he was just on this losing streak. Because I love that he does like this Hurricane Run off the top rope. And then he just calls for the Johnny Walker and he pins Tejano while he's drinking his drink. Like, that is the epitome of douche.
Yeah.
I dole that word out so often. I'll be the first one to admit it. But if you really wanted a prime example, just look at a man drinking an alcoholic beverage while pinning another man. The lackadaisicalness of it all. Oh my God, it's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. It was the fact that he had Big Rick force the ref down to count was just amazing as well.
I mean, I just have to ask you one question, Ashton, because you're far more knowledgeable about this than I am. Do you think Delavar Daivari and Stokely Hathaway, do you think they go to the same country club?
No, because really, Delavar Daivari might be, he might be rich, but Stokely Hathaway's wealthy.
Oh my God, people! I love it. I love it so much.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure Delavar Daivari has a few $1 million under his belt, but Stokely Hathaway has a few $1 million under his bed.
Yeah, he doesn't even use banks. Oh my God.
I mean,
But
you think Delavar Daivari is working in Lucha Underground because he just likes to inflict violence, and that might be true. But Stokely Hathaway isn't just working in ROH to be a good manager. He owns the company that owns the company that owns Ring of Honor.
oh my God, that chain though. Oh man, but yeah, I was digging the
Stokely
whole thing.
Hathaway, the type of dude that has stocks in Disney.
Oh my God, are you serious right now? Oh, I love it so much. Though Stokely Hathaway for life. Yeah, Davari's amazing. I again, this pairing was all right for me. I just think for both guys, especially towards the end, it was like one was going up, another was going down. It seemed like they could never really get on the same page momentum-wise, at least from where I sit. But again, second season should bring interesting times for both of these men. Should both of them be a part of the second season? So there you go. And yeah, what came after this, man?
After this, we had, let's see here, Cueto in his office. Katrina shows up and tells him that Mill is coming back more powerful than ever. Cueto's Like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll give him a match with Phoenix. What were you thinking? And she's just like, she gets up all up in his ear, and we get some reverb even, and it was amazing. And she was just like, death match.
And then she just disappeared. I love that Cueto, though, has the foresight to ask her, what match would you like Mil to have? Because he realizes that he wants to live. It's just great. But yeah, really fun segment. We're really beginning to see, like, the powers of Katrina and just of death itself really come to the forefront. Cueto's kind of freaked out, but then he gets this look on his face. I I almost want to say arousal, and I'm not even kidding either. Just thinking about Mil Muertes destroying Phoenix in a death match, it's crazy. His facial expressions so on point sometimes, and I'm looking at Cueto and I'm like, wow, you really do love violence, don't you? Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thing too, is that I love how much emphasis they put on the key here.
Yes, yes, great point.
Because the first thing that you see is her just kind of tap him on the shoulder, and he turns around and she's not there. So then he kind of just chills out and sits in the chair. But then she comes up behind him and sneaks her hand down towards the key and grabs the key almost, but he has it too. And like as she's talking about Mil coming back stronger than ever, he gets like a tighter grip of the key, and they show that. I love that.
Yes,
Because it's like
yes,
him
yeah.
clinging on to this idea that Matunza is the strongest entity he's ever seen. Of course, he'll protect him from the big bad scary Mil Muertes, but what if he can't?
Exactly. And, that wasn't the first time that, what you pretty much said was teased. We would get other teases about that later on in the season, but that was great. I'm so glad you brought that up and you picked up on that because that's an excellent point. I think that really raised this segment up a few notches. Yeah, the interactions between Cueto and Katrina have always been quality, and this was no exception.
Definitely. All right, so now we can move on to Black Lotus. She has left El Dragon Azteca's compound and left him a note saying that she's going to kill Dario's brother. Next thing you know, though, we see Chavo Guerrero. He shows up and says that El Dragon Azteca is going to need him, who then says that the Guerreros are liars and cheaters. And Chavo's just like, yeah, but we're also familia. He wants basically for El Dragon Azteca to call Mexico off because he knows about how pissed Mexico is at what he did to Blue Demon Jr. and Mascarita Sagrada. So Chavo offers to protect Black Lotus, and El Dragon Azteca tells him that he'll clear his debt, but only if Chavo protects Black Lotus with his life.
Yeah. So they come to an agreement. Chavo seems like he's going to honor it because obviously, to your point, Ashley, he gets his debt cleared, so he gets something out of it. So once again, Chavo re-entering the fold. I know I said a couple episodes back in our Lucha rewatch series that, watching this season over again, you see how pivotal Chavo Guerrero was in a lot of storylines, how crucial he was. And yeah, here we see him again as part of a bigger storyline here that really deals in a lot of ways, I think, with the very mythos of Lucha Underground. So good stuff here.
Yeah, it's crazy how massive of a deal he is in this first season, even if it's not necessarily all directly.
Exactly. Yeah, completely agree.
All right, so then we close things out with the main event of the evenings: Team Sitcom versus the Crew, ladder match for the trios titles, and there's no disqualification too. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the violence here, to use the term that Cueto loves best, just absolutely on point. It's funny, Ashton, because I read a lot of columnists on the internet, and when the news about season two, Lucha Underground season two came out, I saw one columnist they talked about it. They said they were happy for the brand, but they said the two things they didn't like, and it really made me just go screw off. Was the chair shots to the head apparently was one thing, but then the other thing that really rubbed me the wrong way was the men on women violence, and I'm like, dude, it's not 1950, it's 2015, it's pro wrestling. It's not like we're dealing with actual violence here, in that context. I love it. I feel like it's great seeing people like Evilish, step up against these scummy heels in the Crew. And yeah, this match was fantastic, and it made all six people, man and woman, look fantastic.
you know what my whole thing with the whole domestic abuse, male on female violence thing is, John?
What's that, man?
I hate that because now the situation with Ray Rice punching a woman in an elevator and everything kind of surrounding that, now all of a sudden all of the attention is being brought to domestic violence, but it's not domestic violence in general. It's specifically male and female domestic violence. To me, and this might be controversial or whatever, but I'm not saying anything that isn't true. Violence is unacceptable no matter what gender is involved.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's not like the only kind of domestic violence is male and female. I mean, there was just a thing released, I don't know if it was just a couple days ago, I think it was, where a guy in the middle of a divorce had a GoPro strapped to his chest to prove that he had this woman, I don't know if it was his wife or his ex or whatever, was harassing and abusing him. And he had a GoPro strapped to his chest to try and film it, to try and prove it. And he caught her on film doing it. And it's just another example of the fact that domestic violence knows no gender. There is no specific, like, it's not just male on female. It's not just female on male. Just violence in general, whether domestic or not, is unacceptable.
Absolutely.
To me, there's no excuse to physically attack somebody for any reason. Really, there isn't, because if somebody is physically attacking you, then guess what? I could definitely understand retaliating, but another option is to just take it, and then there's no reason whatsoever, if you take it to court, that anyone can say that you have any kind of anything coming against you either. They can't say, oh yeah, but you broke their jaw, so you're going to have to pay for those hospital bills. It's not going to work out that way. So to me, no excuse for violence no matter what. But that being said, if I was personally offended by any kind of violence, I wouldn't watch wrestling in the first place.
Exactly. And I think what really gets me so angry, Ashton, if I may, since we've, kind of really opened up this discussion, show me one instance in season 1 where a woman is really denigrated, dehumanized, belittled. I mean, even the more sexual and sensual characters, like we always say that Katrina is very sensual.
Yeah.
But it's always done to me in a very tasteful way, and it's story driven because I really believe she's a succubus or some kind of demon. I swear to you, like
and even if she isn't, she's the most powerful person in Lucha Underground right now.
Exactly, and I find it insulting when it's like, oh, stop the intergender matches. It's not why, because a woman can't be strong against a man in a wrestling ring. That's why I love the Sexy Star character. That's why I love the Eva Lise character. Eva Lise gets on a mic and she says she's the baddest bitch in the building. She doesn't care who she's standing across from. She's gonna whoop your ass. Why shouldn't that be encouraged?
And another thing too is a lot of people think that it's a size issue too, because you've got Sexy Star at like 5'2", 5'3", 5'4", beating the ass of guys like Pentagon. And these are the same people that turn around and say, man, I want to see Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar so bad. Bryan's like 5'8", 5'9", Brock's 6'3", almost 300 pounds. The size difference is incredibly similar between those two guys and Sexy Star and Pentagon.
Right. And that's just it. And even when size, isn't an issue, you have Sasha Banks saying in interviews she'd love to work with Sami Zayn.
Yeah,
is that wrong?
That would be amazing. I would love to see that.
Is that wrong? I look at Asuka. I watched a top 25 moves video from her. I think she could whoop any man's ass, and then actually choke somebody out.
They showed her in one of the highlight videos that I saw. She was kicking Tajiri's ass.
Yeah.
I saw her kick Funaki's ass, too.
Yeah, that was the video I saw, Ashton, where she was whooping Funaki's ass. And I'm just thinking, I saw that comment, and the columnist that wrote it, he's always hit or miss with me. I don't loathe the guy, but there are a lot of stuff I disagree with. And I just looked at that, and I'm like, man, you are so backwards.
In my opinion, to say that male on female violence is any less acceptable than any other form of violence is sexist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's implying that just because she's a female, she's somehow more defenseless than anybody else that a guy would want to attack, or anybody would want to attack.
Exactly. And, bringing it full circle to this ladder match, I mean, we had the crazy spots, obviously. I mean, the whole taking the panel off the window. I think Mr. Cisco did that, and he was beating Angelico with it and just beating everybody with it. But then he tries to climb the ladder. He gets dumped in the office. Angelico goes to the top of it at first. He gets whipped with the cane. Son of Havoc has a great comeback.
It was Castro that whipped him with the cane. I think it was Bale.
Castro.
I think it was Bale that ended up in Cueto's office.
So it was Bale in Cueto's office. And, then he does the dive out, though.
Yeah.
Son of Havoc's comeback with just throwing one crew member to the table, and then he does the shooting star press, which doesn't break the table, which, that kind of sucked. But, both guys were down. And then Angelico's dropkick off the office. But you know who saves the freaking day?
Ivelisse. That's right.
So what the hell when you're like, oh, I really don't care for this type of violence? The woman was the hero of the story. Because she climbed the ladder, she bit the hand of, I believe it was Mr. Cisco trying to stop the climb, and she slapped it and she got him off. She grabbed the title with an ankle injury. So really what I'm saying here isn't a woman being denigrated, isn't a woman being objectified or commodified or whatever. I'm seeing a woman being empowered in a field of men, and I think that should be celebrated. So when you tell me, oh, I really wish they'd cut back on that, what I think you're telling me is I wish they would cut back on progressing women. That's what you're telling me. So, yeah, I just had to get that little rant because I was so angry reading that today, and I'm just thinking, screw off, man. This is so good.
There are a lot of people that just plain do not get it, that just don't understand that men and women are equal, and that if men want to beat up women and the woman wants to sign up to beat up men, that there's nothing wrong with that. That's the end of the day. That's their decisions, and they're allowed to make their own decisions.
Well, and that's a great point, actually. Like, does anybody ever stop to consider when they make these arguments that agency is a thing, that consent is a thing? Like, I don't think a woman, like, if she really didn't want to be a part of that kind of environment, she would have walked in the door or affixed her signature to a contract in the first place. Exactly. This is what Ivelisse loves to do. This is what Sexy Star loves to do, and I love that they love it because I love watching them do what they do. This match was amazing. It was a lot of fun. Everybody killing themselves out there. Just an excellent matchup. Team Sitcom prevails. And Cueto just looks like, I can't believe these misfits got the win again. And he knows the sacrifice is coming. So
that's right. And we know what's going to start out our next chunk of episodes next week, too.
I can't wait to laugh about that all over again.
All right, guys. Well, this has been an amazing chunk of Lucha Underground episodes. Season 2 has been officially confirmed, which is amazing. And next week is going to be an even crazier chunk of episodes because we're going to get to see a guy's face get eaten off. We're going to get to see an hour-long match, I believe. We're going to get to see somebody get put through a freaking building. And we're going to get to see, in my opinion, arguably the most underrated match of the year in Hernandez versus Prince Puma, all next week. But for now, this is Lucha Rewatch. We are TwitWow, and we will see you guys for NXT tonight.